Recorded Books presents The Trial of Mrs. Rhinelander by Denny S. Bryce. Narrated by Joniece Abbott-Pratt and Chanté Mccormick. Prologue. Alice Beatrice Jones. 1943. I grew up around rich people, so I know how ornery they could be and how poorly they treated those who weren't them. The wealthy believed that what they wanted, thought, and said was what everyone should want, think, or say. Nothing mattered to New York's cafe society but the 400, those illustrious members of the social register, the acclaimed list of New York's wealthiest and most elite. I'd learned a lot about the rich by 16, working in most of the mansions, estates, and summer homes in Westchester County. I cared for their children, cleaned their kitchens, scrubbed their bathroom bowls, and mopped their floors on my hands and knees. I could tell the difference between old money, like the Huguenots, and new money, seemingly everyone else, or the robber barons, the gangsters and politicians who corralled bucket loads of ill-gotten gains. Domestic, maid, servant, everything they asked me to do, paid me pennies to do, I did, with my head down and my lips sealed, other than to mumble, "Yes, ma'am," or "Yes, sir." So how come in the summer of 1921, when I was 22 years old and feeling like a spinster, I lost the ability to see what was in front of me? That summer, I worked at the Orchard School in Stamford, Connecticut, a private live-in clinic for young people from wealthy New York families. The students, or patients as some of the staff, including me, called them, were a particular lot. Their parents had shipped them away from their fancy New York homes because they had trouble learning things like controlling their tempers, overeating or not eating, or getting a sentence out of their mouths without stammering. I first met Leonard Kip Rhinelander in the school's cafeteria. I was clearing his food tray when I stopped doing my job to stare at him. He wasn't the most handsome fella I'd ever seen, more Charlie Chaplin than Douglas Fairbanks. Although he wasn't short, his shoulders and hands belonged to a tall man. Still, his nose was too broad, his chin wobbly as jello, and his eyes, though I couldn't get a good look with his head down, appeared too close together, like those of one of those hoodlums from Hell's Kitchen my father hated. But he was a spiffy dresser, decked out like Joe Brooks, the consummate Fifth Avenue New Yorker, in his waistcoat, sack suit, and wingtip lace-up Oxfords. Pretending to pick up a dropped fork or knife, I peeked at his shoes under the table. He also wore a Swarovski gold collar bar and a Cartier Santos Dumont wristwatch, which every stylish man wore, and the icing on the showing off my wealth cake. I lifted another student's tray, but kept an eye on Rhinelander. I liked his hair. He wore it like Rudolph Valentino, with a side part and slicked back away from his face. Absolutely. He was one of them. He must have felt my unabated gaze, for he raised his head, looked directly at me, and smiled. Just the ordinary run-of-the-mill smile, and not like he was cock of the walk. He grinned at me with the friendliest expression. Usually, while working for rich people, if our eyes meet, I'd quickly lower my gaze or turn away, but this time I couldn't. I was frozen. The smile was dazzling, but it was the eyes that had my feet stuck on the floor. They were a shade of blue I'd never seen, like the sky over the Hudson on a clear day, but no, more beautiful than that, more stunning than sky. The Star of Bombay, that was it. The violet blue sapphire Douglas Fairbanks gave as a gift to his wife Mary Pickford. I'd never seen the 182-carat gemstone, but from how it was described in the newspaper, I imagined it to be the same color as Mr. Rhinelander's eyes, which sparkled like scattered pieces of cut glass caught in the moonlight. I couldn't stop staring, not at all the behavior of a proper cleanup girl. Then bang! Crash! An explosion of dishes smashed and broke into pieces on the hardwood floor.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?